So it seems like for the past few years, there's a couple of games that come along every so often and absolutely dunk on traditional AAA studios. Or in this case, a quadruple A studio? Windrose is the latest of these titles to come out, that has disconnected millennials clutching their oat milk lattes with disgust and jealousy. I mean, imagine working as hard as possible to become a good video game developer, or an animator or something, just to get third-partied by a team of like 80 dudes who made a game that has 1,000 times the player base as yours. I mean, that's gotta be a real kick in the French pants for Ubisoft. As for the rest of us, we're doing pretty good, playing arguably the best pirate-themed game since Black Flag. Black Flag being the best pirate-themed game since that Pirates of the Caribbean MMO that came out in like 2007, and man do I still miss that game. Longing for dead MMOs aside, I've really enjoyed playing Windrose lately. So much so that it's got me asking some questions that I'm not sure if anyone has the answer to. Why don't we have anywhere near the amount of high-quality pirate games as we do fantasy and sci-fi games? What specifically about this genre do studios not find interesting enough to sink some real resources into? And I don't mean resources in the Ubisoft sense of the word, where you just throw money at a project and pray you'll make millions off of seasonal items and battle passes. I mean actual care and research into what the players want out of their gaming experience when it comes to pirate-themed titles. Sea of Thieves was good for what it was and is still one of the most clippable games of all time, but if you want a more realistic role-playing game set in the world of piracy, well, tough luck, buddy, you'll just have to replay Black Flag for the 100th time. And the sad thing is, Ubisoft could have easily made a game that was this popular when they released Skull and Bones. The only thing preventing them from doing so is their almost biblical level of greed and failure to care about the gameplay experience of their product. Keep in mind, Skull and Bones was one of the first titles to be released at $70, since it was, quote, a quadruple A game. I guess quadruple in this context was meant to represent their player base, and not the level of effort that went into making the game fun or playable in any meaningful sense of the word. I mean, come on, $70. For 70 whole US dollars, you can play a game that's infested with microtransactions, and somehow manages to have worse water physics than a game like Far Cry 3 that came out well over a decade ago. The absolute entitlement felt by some of the previous giants of the gaming industry has got to be studied. I mean, we're basically at Martin Shkreli levels of greed at this point. Oh, you work a full-time job and want to relax on your weekend? Give us $70 for the most mediocre experience of your life that'll advertise microtransactions to you every time you boot it up. Not a fan of that? Well, go kick rocks or play Sea of Thieves, because up until April of 2026, the entire genre was being held captive due to a sheer lack of competition, and that's why it's so nice to have a game like Windrose come out. You don't have to choose between the other two games in the entire genre. You want to sink pirate ships with your friends? Go right ahead. You want to get into base building? There's a ton of different building schematics to discover. Boss fights? We got 'em. Legendary weapons that are extremely powerful yet don't break immersion? Right this way. Windrose has finally done something that hasn't even been attempted in years now. Creating a pirate-themed game that's not some caricatured version of the genre. And I don't mean to send shots at the hit title Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, but that's obviously attempting to borrow the Pirates theme, rather than make it the main attraction or the main focus. Windrose is a game that intentionally puts you in the world of piracy and embraces it. There's no crazy immersion-breaking cosmetics, there's no item shop where you can buy the Flying Dutchman, and there's no cartoonish elements. Windrose is a game that knows what it wants to be, and it's deliberate about being that. And keep in mind, this is a game that's still in early access, right? So it might get to a point where they do eventually end up adding things that are overly cartoonish, or they go weird places with their quest lines, or they go strange places with the enemies that you have to fight and things of that nature. But for what it is right now in early access at a $26 purchase point, I'm taking this game over any other game in this genre. And I have to admit, while I was kind of researching this topic and I was doing some research on the developers, it turns out these guys are actually from Uzbekistan of all places, so Horoshayi Izdila and all that guys. But what really concerns me is not a single Western developer has made a pirate-themed game that's of any quality in the last decade and some change, following Black Flag. And it is so mind-boggling to me that you know, in a location that takes place in the Caribbean, where it's mostly European powers and it's off the coast of America in the New World. Not a single Western developer has been able to capture what makes that setting so interesting, and the themes that just run through that makes it so intriguing and almost magnetic and appeal to players. I mean, this should be an easy slam dunk for people who actually have a frame of reference. I mean, if you're a game studio that has an office in Florida, I mean, you're right there. You're right there. What is your excuse? I just don't understand it. It took these guys from Uzbekistan to make a good pirate game. That's really what it took. And I don't bring this up to disparage these guys from Uzbekistan for making a wonderful pirate game. I mean, you see this all the time where studios are from all over the place and they all make, you know, great games that aren't set in the region that they're from, right? But there is a certain advantage that you get from making a game centered in a region that you have a deep cultural understanding of. That's why people love The Witcher with all of its Polish-inspired themes and whatnot, and CD Projekt Red is in Poland. They're a Polish company. You look at KCD2, Warhorse, it's a Czech company, and these guys can just go so much deeper and have so much more attention to detail and add things that if I was making a game based on the Hussite Wars, you know, based out of the southeastern United States, I just don't have access to. I don't have that cultural understanding and knowledge. What American companies are essentially doing by ignoring this pirate-themed genre and landscape is they're basically sitting on a whole mountain of source material, a whole mountain of stories and lore and interesting characters and places to go. They're just ignoring it. They're sitting on a mountain of gold in terms of creative inspiration, and they just dismiss it and they take zero interest in it. Look, not every game that comes from an American publisher needs to be some like Mel Gibson coded extravaganza of liberty and freedom. It doesn't need to be that. That's not what I'm asking for. But look, we do have some really good stories. We have some great folklore. We have some great themes to explore. We have some interesting characters on our history here in the Western Hemisphere. In America, we have these things. Not every game based in America has to be like GTA. But anyway, I'm going to stop myself before I go on a whole separate tangent that would require me to change the title of this video and the thumbnail, which I already made and I'm not too keen on remaking. If you haven't, please go play Windrose. It is super fun. It is such a breath of fresh air. And man, I am sinking so much time into this, and I cannot wait until it becomes a full game out of early access. I think it's going to be amazing. I think it's going to be spectacular, and it's going to give us a lot more to talk about in the future. But anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Until then, take care.